Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and I am back. It seems like a long time since I've done a broadcast, so hmm, that's new. Used to stay open. Never mind, we'll fix that. Anyway, so what I want you to do is to say, wow, what a week this has been, an incredible week. We're going to be talking today a little bit about loves because it's Happy Valentine's Day. And what I wanted to do is to make sure that you understand. I'm going to take the opportunity to see, hi Linda, to see both sides of the story of love. Because some time ago, I remember one of my viewers asking me, what do I need to look out for in a relationship? And so I thought I'd take this opportunity to do what I call a twofer. By the way, please notice the boxes. For those of you who don't know, I have just moved in fully to my new home, and that's why there's still boxes. And I didn't realize that they were, hi, Ange, how are you doing? Well, happy Valentine's Day to everybody, and I hope you've had a wonderful Valentine's Day up until now. Anyway, so excuse the boxes for now. I didn't realize they were in camera view, otherwise they wouldn't be there. My house is full of boxes. But hi, Jilly, good to see you. But the good news is that I am, I own the house on which I stand, and I am debt-free technically. And I say technically because the money has been issued, the check's been deposited, but then they need to do all the red tape that goes around it. And then done. And it's been quite a journey, and I thank you so much for joining us along it. Jilly, as I know that you've been commenting, and I thank you for doing that. I just want to maybe ask you whether you could let us know roughly what decade, are you in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and also where you're from in terms of area. And I'll have the other viewers introduce themselves as well while I carry on. So, but a big welcome and thank you so much for participating the way that you have been in the vlogs. It's been really interesting. I think Jody said to me, I cannot believe that you are doing all that you're doing and you've gone back to doing the daily vlogs. Well, you know why? I was driving every day. And that was sort of like, that was the original reason that I did so many vlogs, was because I was driving to work every day. And I realize now that the reason I stopped doing them was because, I, as you've noticed, I talk very easily when I'm driving. Now, I realized why that is. It suddenly struck me this week that, when I was a professional speaker, I always said I used to talk with a part of my mind. I used to watch with part of my mind, and I used to think with part of my mind. And so as a speaker, I was always sort of had two things going on at the same time. I was talking, but at the back, I am watching what the reactions from the audience were and adjusting. And I realized the reason I talk so easily in the car is because I've got that part of my mind watching the road ahead, which I do fastidiously. I very rarely look at the camera, and if I look at the camera, it's normally by accident. But I can sort of drive and chew gum at the same time. So anyway, so that's what I realized why it's so easy for me to talk while I drive, is because it reminds me of when I was a speaker. Before we get into the love thing, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. Lauren lost her puppy Puddles yesterday, and she's grieving, and I'm certain all of you who know Lauren will want to wish her well. Beth just told me this morning that her daughter had a chemical damage. Something blew up in her face, or I don't know if it blew up, but she ended up with a chemical, injury. and she's got to have surgery. It's really sad, plastic surgery to correct it. So really, really sad. Nana, I know, is due to have an eye operation sometime in February, and I'm not quite sure when. Oh, that's interesting. Angela is saying, chemical burn. Thank you, Jody. I love it when you're my other brain. Angela is saying that I should, you know, I love that word, and that I should watch the Justin Bieber YouTube special. It talks about the effects on the brain with so much stimulus. Yes. And I have always said that, you know, when you get overstimulated, that's why I work so hard, and to keep balance, because I know what happens to me when I get overstimulated. I run around like a chicken with my head cut off. In fact, I know when I'm overwhelmed because I'm literally going from room to room and not doing anything. And then I go, whoa, stop. You know, this is too much. Something's gone wrong here. Jilly, I just want to check whether you know that if you put up a comment, it's sort of like okay for me to repeat it. I will, if there's something that I think might be sensitive to you, I will double check with you first, if that's okay. So Jilly's saying, I wish I were in my early 60s. Or I wish I was. That's right. She's in her early 60s in the UK. And she moved 5 years ago into her parents' bungalow and ended up with 2 more of everything. So lots of downsizing, and it's not always easy. You know, that's what I've really, it's really kind of you to understand that. You know, I literally, you know what I did, Jilly? I found out, for example, I had, and I haven't sorted them all out yet, but I had, you know, way too many spades, shovels, whatever you call them here. And what I did was I took a couple back to the people who bought my other house, because my old house, because I know they don't have any garden tools. So I went, I've got way too many. I don't need this many. So I just packed a couple into the car and took them back for them. But I also left them my lawnmower, because I don't have lawn, and all sorts of other things. So we'll talk about that after we get through the first part of the thing. So welcome to everybody and happy Valentine's Day. And the greatest gift of all, I believe, is the ability to not have Valentine's Day upset you. You know, I knew that I had got balance when Valentine's Day came around and I wasn't going, oh, I wish I had somebody in my life. You know what I mean? And the other thing is this: Valentine's Day for me is actually a very sad day in some ways, if I wanted it to be, because it's the day my mom died. And so, but you know, I've learned that this is all relative. It's how I choose to process it. So instead of being a sad day for me, it's a day when I will celebrate her. By the way, would you like to see what she looked like? And I say that because I've got a original piece of art that was done of her, and it's close enough that I can grab it if you guys are interested. So yeah, I've had a feeling Jody would. Hang on a sec. There you go. Now that, she was very young then. She was probably 18, 17 or 18 when that was done. And it was done by quite a famous artist. And who my mom later found sleeping with her fiance. You know, it's just like, tell me, you know, the love that went into painting that, and then you go and do something like that. So what do you say? You say, What a funny friendship that was. So I think part of what we're going to talk about today is, love isn't always what we think it is. And I thought it was so cute. I got a note from Yvonne last night to say that the new Mrs. New owner of my house, I don't understand why that's doing that today. Anyway, Mrs. New owner said to me, or said to Yvonne, I'm so happy to find this house, and I wouldn't have found it without Sal and Patty. And I thought, isn't that wonderful that she feels the love in the house and respects that, and actually could discuss it with Yvonne. So that to me, touched my soul. Now, you want to know what I really loved yesterday? You guys are going to think I am so weird. Some of you know I have Clarence the cleaner. He's my robot cleaner. And, the first day that I brought him home, which was the day before yesterday, I sent him off cleaning to see where he got caught up, because that's a really important thing to do, especially when you've got a house full of boxes. But I sent him off to go clean, and I think I emptied him 3 times, which horrified me. But he just ran out of steam and didn't find his way home to his docking station. And I know this sounds really strange, but I was so sad about that. I went, oh, you don't know how to find your way home anymore. Well, yesterday I sent him to go clean. And the next thing I knew, hours later, because he actually goes for quite a while, hours later and many empties later, I saw him quietly making his way back to his docking station, and he just went. And I talked to him like he was a puppy. You know what I mean? I went, well done, Clarence. Very good job. How many of you can imagine me doing it? Go, you found your way home. That's a good boy. Well done. And I'm thinking, who else talks to their robot cleaner? And what I found out, where am I keeping Hal? Julie is asking me. Very good question. Right here. That's a good back exercise. Uh-oh. Whatever I did then, I shouldn't have done. Do you think I can close that cupboard again? But I got allergies going. So I just wanted to let you know that it was really quite cute. Oh, Linda, who knows me very well, she's been a viewer for a long, long time. Linda's saying, I'd be more surprised if you didn't talk to him. Isn't that the truth? Yeah, anyway, so that's good. And you know that I bought one for Yvonne, and we call hers Vinny, the vacuum. Well, Jilly, you asked me a question. I answer questions, as you found out the other day. All right, I want to tell you something, Jilly. One of the things that I pride myself in is that I answer people's questions as far as possible, unless it's at some sort of risk to my security or something. And you are only seeing part of the kitchen, but don't you love this incredible workspace right here? And this over here is my dining room, which is a bit squashed. And I'm waiting for Marnie to come on Monday because I want to talk to her about that. But anyway, it's coming together. And I hope that you guys are enjoying seeing it come together slowly but surely. And that's why I'm a bit surprised. I'm going, wow, I've never seen that that bit over there before. And I'm going, no, that's because you've got the wall unit up there now. All right, so there we go. I think I've covered most of the things. And so let's talk a little bit about love. I want to thank Jody and Lauren again, who support me during the week in helping me put the broadcast together. And, we're going to be doing some fun quotes about love tonight. You know that we do, this is our skills one a little bit, and then the evening one is our let's laugh about the subject. And so Jodie's done a great job of getting some really fun quotes together for on love, which I thought would make you all laugh. It certainly, when I was looking at them, I laughed a number of times going down the list, and I also thought, oh, I've got stories about that one, that's for sure. What I wanted to do, as I said, is to have a look at both sides of this issue of love. And the reason I want both sides is because I think all too often we think love is just the good stuff. And from my experience, no, I've had some pretty difficult things happen as well. So I'm going to switch them around about. I want to switch them around because I want to make sure that we answer some of the questions that Nyasha asked about how do I tell if what do I need to watch out for? What are the negative things I need to watch out for? So I thought we could cover both of those, right? So first of all, let's take a quote from James Baldwin, and he said, "Love takes off masks that we fear we cannot live without, and we know we cannot live within." How many of you love having friends that you can tell your truth to? I just want to make sure that you all understand how important that is. That you can actually say to them, I'm scared or I'm frightened. And, it's really interesting to me how many people have written to me to thank me for staying in the moment and honest with my feelings as I was doing this transition over the last month. And you can probably understand how tired I am. I have done twice as many steps in the last month as I would normally do. And you'd think that the weight would be dropping off me, but for some reason it isn't. And it isn't because I'm eating that badly, because I keep track of that. And my blood sugar isn't that bad. It's a little elevated, but hey, what do you expect? So I am really quite interested in what's going on, and I'm waiting for my life to settle down a little bit to see what happens. All right, Jody is saying, it's a lifetime for me, my safe place with my closest friends, a true joy. Yes, some of us spend a lifetime waiting to find people that actually are trustworthy. Linda's saying, my partner is the one I can tell my truth to as my best friend. Yeah, and I think we all pray for that, Linda, that we will find somebody in our lifetime that we can trust that much and be that safe with. Because am I right in saying that you have probably trusted people and told them your truth only to have it used? I think the expression today is weaponized, that what you did is you weaponized them because they used that information against you. That is not love. All right, somebody who uses your truth, when you've been brave enough to share your truth with them and they then use that against you, that's not love. Yeah. I think the opposite of that would be compassion. That we don't judge people. Now, listen, we all judge people. I'm not going to pretend I don't. But you understand what I'm saying. It's like that we don't sort of judge them too harshly. I always think about Marnie whenever I talk about stuff like this. And I cannot tell you how many, and she's coming on Mondays with Grover. I'm so excited. But I can't tell you how many times she would look at me and say, "You mean it's not all about me?" And, I'd go, "No, Maureen, apparently not." And she'd go, "Oh, okay." And I loved her for that because, she is that honest as well. And I love it. Lucille Ball said, "Love yourself first, and then everything else falls into line. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world." Now, how many of you noticed there were moments along the way of my journey in the last month where I was actually scared? One of them being signing day. I want to tell you, I was pretty scared that day. I was signing away a property of great value. I say great value, but in my world, it was great value. And realizing that it was possible to make a mistake and end up in trouble. I was buying something, and it's like lots of notes all over the place, and I was a little scared. And what I had to do, actually, no, I was more than a little scared, to be honest. I was scared. And what I had to do is to remind myself I'm smarter than I give myself credit for sometimes. And I must admit, much to the chagrin, I love that word, chagrin, much to the annoyance in a way of the lawyer that I was signing stuff with, because I'd say, don't I da 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 da, and she'd sort of look at me and go, what? And I said, well, that's a legal document. Don't I have to do da 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 da? But what I found is they're not nearly as picky as they used to be in some things, and that scared me, quite honestly. Linda's saying, wow, my nan used to say, love yourself first, be comfortable with your own company first, and the rest will follow. Yes, if you don't love who you are, how do you expect somebody else to? You know what I mean? And I don't mean who you pretend to be. You see, I think sometimes we pretend to be what we think is a better version of ourselves. And I'm beginning to think that the one that most people try to cover up is actually the better person. Because it's a more genuine person, right? They're not a perfect person, but they're a more genuine person. They're easier to get to know because they're not perfect. And by the way, if you can admit that you're not perfect, if you can tell people, well, I screwed up there, it's so much easier to like you. It's when we pretend to be perfect that it causes a problem. And boy, yeah, don't we wish? So, how about this one? Maurice Schwartz said, the most important thing in life is to learn how to give out love and let it come in. Now, some of us have been damaged by love, all right? Some of us have loved and been hurt. And what happens when we've been hurt is we put down the screen, the door, and we go, yeah, everybody else gets to stay out now. Nobody gets to hurt me again like that. And, I understand it because I've done it. But the truth is, it doesn't really help you. Because if you are shutting people out, how can you let people in? And how can you feel the love if you're shutting people out? I thought it was really interesting that yesterday I was busy tidying up and there was this bang, bang, bang on the door. And it was my neighbor, my newfound neighbor from a week ago, just checking to see that I was coming to the Valentine's get together in the community center on Saturday. And I said, I missed the sign up sheet. And she said, oh, don't you worry about that. Just bring the money and we'll make sure there's food for you. And I said, thank you. And what I had done is I had said to them, excuse me, I'd said to them, I have an ice making machine, which is over there. You can't see it. A portable ice maker. And, would you like me to bring it? Because you know me, I do that sort of stuff. And then I was thinking I might just take my water filter as well. I've got a big zero water filter. By the way, did any of you ever see the ads for that and wonder whether it works? And I say that I'm not trying to necessarily promote it, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew that it actually works really well. I'm still a bit stunned, quite honestly. Hi, Sharon. Wow. And Sharon's saying dating update. All right. We are now exclusive. I've met one of his sons and his family. Tomorrow he meets my stepdaughter. Oh, that's serious stuff going on there, Sharon. I'm so happy for you. Does he have a name? Or one that you can share? You obviously don't need to. And Lord Byron, very famous poet, said, love will find a way through paths where wolves fear to prey. It's like, have you noticed that when you love somebody, how much you will do for them, how many things you will rearrange for them, how many, basically your life, you become invincible in some ways. And to some of us, that's how we know we're in love. You know what I mean? Because we just are capable of doing everything. Sharon's saying she's still a bit skittish. Well, you know something? I understand that, Sharon, but the truth is, it's, if you compare it to what I've just done, Sharon, you cannot move forward if you don't take the risk. All right? And you know that. I mean, you've been around the broadcast long enough to know that life is full of little risks and big ones too. And, the same as I was saying, I was, really quite scared about getting the paper signed and what did I miss? And there was a moment of a leap of faith. And I think that's what you're going through is the leap of faith section of your relationship. And, it's very difficult. And do remember that it's not for the children, right? You're doing this for you two. So, whilst it's always nice if the children approve, it's not the be all and end all either. It's just a case of, I wonder if any of the viewers, have you been in a relationship with somebody where the children didn't approve? And how did you cope with that? Because I think it's possible. I thought this was a great quote. This is from Herman Hesse, and he said, if I know what love is, it's because of you. Oh, all right. Linda's saying she needs to go now because Nicholas's movie night. Great. What are you going to watch tonight? Well, I'm really glad that you popped in and give Nicholas a hug from me if he can't hear me. I would appreciate that. And if you can hear me, hi, Nicholas. Good to see you. Enjoy your movie. Anyway, so going back to that quote, if I know what love is, it is because of you. And how many of you understand that when we feel love, it's because somebody is giving it to us. All right. And that's why we get that feeling. It's because we are being treated as somebody special. We are being cared about and for. And, I think it's really important. Let me ask you, because I got quite a few of you online here. What does love feel like to you? Where if you had to describe the feeling of love, what is it? How do you know that you're in love? And I'm going to carry on while you answer that, and I'll come back with some of the answers. Joseph Campbell said that love is a friendship set to music. How about that? A friendship set to music. Yeah, I don't think you can be in love without being friends. I've always said that it's really important to understand that. That's interesting. Julie says she knows she's in love when her heart flutters and melts at the same time. Yeah. Oh, Linda's saying that Nicholas has asked for some Charlie Chaplin or Laurel and Hardy. Wow. That sounds like a lot of laughter for Nicholas. Right? Isn't it interesting that he likes them? I find that really interesting because they're so slapstick in so many ways, and that makes sense in some ways as well. Linda. Johann Wolfgang van Goethe said, "We are shaped and fashioned by what we love." And how many of you believe that we are shaped and fashioned by whom we love? You see, have you ever found that, you made a new friend, or you um, and noticed that you started to talk a bit like them, or that you know you started to get their sense of humor, that you started to use their phrases a bit more? I don't think it is a surprise if some of you, just by being viewers of Dear Mama Sal, have heard yourselves say something that you can know that came from the broadcast. And, I think that's pretty normal, but it means that you loved what you heard. And I want you to understand that that's part of what all this is about. My greatest goal was, if I do this right, and when will I ever do it right? But if I do this right, this will be paid forward exponentially, but to so many people that I will never be able to imagine. But the truth is, I know, I know that it's potentially possible. That, it's like the starfish thing, right? If I help this one person, they in turn will be able to help others, and it's really, very exciting to me. Jilly's saying, "I've been married for 44 years this March." Wow, Jody, let's make what's your anniversary date, Jilly? "And I've been in love for most of the time." I think that is an amazing statement to be able to say that. I've been married for 44 years and I've been in love most of the time. I want to tell you, I think we all would love to be able to make that statement. That is amazing, Julie. So I'm certain there'll be other people who ask, why? What is it about your relationship that keeps you feeling in love? That would be really interesting for a lot of people. When we are in love, we seem to ourselves quite different from what we were before. Have any of you ever sort of queried why anybody would love you? I do it to my friends every now and then. I go, "Tell me again why you love me, because I personally can't work that one out. Why would you love me?" Seriously. I am opinionated so and so. You know, but the truth is, guess what they love? That I'm an opinionated so and so. Jody's saying, "Love for me is putting someone else's needs first whenever possible. Knowing my husband does the same for me makes me feel like someone always has my back. Thinking of the other thinking of the other person's perspective." Wow. So, to me, to me, oh, Jody, can we make a note that it's Sharon and Jerry? You know. um, so um, I think it's really incredible. If it's the other, seeing life, trying to please the other person or thinking about their needs above yours, I'm certainly going to be people that say, Jody, don't you feel that you are giving too much? Or is it that the amount that Lionel gives you makes it a no-brainer that you give him so much? I just want to make sure that I understand it correctly. Because, or is it because you give so much that Lionel gives that much? I think it's a two-way trade, right? It's not a one-way trade. You both must do it for it to work and to feel like that. And Julie, it is interesting. In 44 years, what keeps you in love? I'm still waiting to hear that. Yes, it's both parties. That's what Jody is confirming. It is both parties putting the other person first. I don't think it's necessarily first, Jody, but I do believe that it is the other person constantly thinking about the other person, right? Because I would have to say that I believe personally that we need to put ourselves first, but looking after ourselves is really, really important. So there are an awful lot of people who will hear that you've got to put the other person first and end up not looking after themselves. And I fell into that trap, Jody. So that's why I want to talk about that part of love. I really did fall into that trap where I became an enabler and a people pleaser and everything else, and I wasn't getting any of my needs met at all. And so what happens when you're in that, in other words, I was giving way more than I was receiving. And so to me, I've now learned not to give as much in that way. If I'm not receiving, I don't, it's like, okay, fine. If I'm not receiving, then I'm not going to be giving a whole lot either. All right, the anniversary is the 25th of March. If you, Julie, just so you know, Jody is our admin and she keeps wonderful notes for me. Sharing the good and the bad experiences we have. Yeah. I think it's really important to share both. It's okay to say I'm scared. And by the way, one of the biggest things, it's okay to say, I don't need you to fix it. I just need a hug. I think in a lot of cases, men really want to fix things. They hate to see you in pain. And it's really important that we let them know what you need. And one of the things that I always do with Benji, because I realized here we are in mid-February, and every year I check in with my sons what their goals are, so I know how to support them, and what to talk about, because I know what their goals are for the year. And it was really interesting because I wrote to Benji and I said, did I lose your goal list for this year? Because it's very possible. Or did you not tell me? And it was so cute because he wrote back and he said, Sal, or Mum, he said, Mum, I think I forgot to tell you. And I'm going, well, you fixed that in a hurry, buddy. And, and the other thing is when I read the goals, I will say to them, in what way can I support you? What support do you want? I try not to presume what I can do. And, quite often with somebody like Benji, the fact that I remain interested in what he's trying to achieve has always been the greatest gift I can give him and the greatest act of love. That I am constantly saying, hey, I know you're trying to do A, B, and C. How's it going? What can I do to help you? What can I chase you on? What do you need me to get my big stick and hit you over the head with? And he really appreciates that every year that's what I do. And so I think it's an important thing in a relationship that we let one another know what it is that it's the same thing I will say to Jody so often. boy, thank you so much for what you do to support me. Because, Jody, has this incredible ability to follow up on stuff and to remind me about stuff. And that's the greatest help in so many ways. Now, quite often, as Jody will tell you, she will remind me about something and I'll go, no, it's already sorted, but thank you. You see, the fact that I've already done it doesn't take away the fact that I feel the love of the fact she wanted to let me make sure I didn't forget, because she knows it's important to me. You see, I think that's an act of love. I don't know about you. Yeah, Jody says, I'm all for looking after ourselves as well, just keeping in mind the other person's perspective. Yeah. So Seneca said, love is the essence. Let me try it for a third time. Easy for me to say. Hi, Kimmy. Love in its essence is spiritual fire. How many of you find that when you are in love, you are also in love with life, in love with, you have more energy, you have more humor, you have more everything. That the fact of being loved actually empowers you at some level. Have any of you ever found that? I always used to, when I was on stage, whenever I talked about, being exhausted, I said, how many of you know that feeling of being sick and tired? You come home from work and you are so tired, you know that you cannot possibly do anymore. And all you want to do, if you're a bath person, is to draw a bath and get in it, with bubbles and just, thank you very much indeed. And if you're a wine person, with a glass of wine. And then I say to them, but isn't it funny that if the man of your dreams happens to phone and say, are you available to go out? Suddenly you're not tired anymore. Suddenly you're leaping out of the bathtub and you are getting dressed and you have so much energy and you are so happy. Why is that? Do any of you relate to what I'm saying? 1 minute you're so exhausted you can hardly move, and the next minute, oh yeah, here I go. So to me, I think that we need to remember that what we are passionate about will inspire us and give us energy. Now, Gilbert Chesterton said, the way to love anything is to realize that it may be lost. When I read that, what I thought about? I thought about the fact that I have been using a lot more muscles in the last month. And what I realized was I need to be very aware that if I don't keep using all those muscles, I am going to have them atrophy. That was a word I used in a broadcast recently. They're going to slowly disintegrate. And so what I need to do, not have to, what I need to, not want to, what I need to do is to love myself enough to keep my body moving if I want to have a moving body for quite a while. And so any support you guys can give me over the coming months about, is the total gym in place? No, the main thing is if I can keep my steps up. And I think I can keep my steps up while I am unpacking. Because I've noticed that I do quite a few steps when I'm unpacking. But once that is done, I need to make sure that I get out and walk. Anne, wasn't it? Anne the walker? I got to remember, I'm meeting these new neighbors. But that I get out and walk, or that I start, seriously using my total gym. And I am going to literally take, gardening and rearranging things outside as part of my exercise program. Anything that keeps me off my butt. All right, say that again, Kimmy. I didn't quite understand that. Yeah, Jilly's saying that the community here might have a walking group. Yeah, they probably walk in the mornings, Jilly, and I don't do mornings. Actually, I have noticed Anne the walker seems to walk closer to lunchtime. Or maybe I should start a, lunchtime. No, I'm not going to start a walking group. All right, here's what Eleanor Roosevelt said about love. It takes courage to love, but pain through love is the purifying fire which those who love generously know. We all know people who are so afraid of pain that they shut themselves up like clams in a shell and, giving out nothing, receive nothing, and therefore shrink until life is a mere living death. How about that? And so part of what I am practicing here in the new community is putting myself out a little bit more than normal. I think it's really important for me because I am a people person, as you might have known. So if I am not, doing things for people or interacting with people, I'm going to have a bit more problem. So to me, it's like, okay, I thought it was really wonderful that they came knocking on my door to make sure I was going to be there on Saturday. That's tomorrow, right? I thought that was really cute. It was like, and I was so upset. I've got to tell you that I was so upset. They didn't ring the doorbell. And by the way, that is the magic word. I got a ring doorbell. Do any of you have it? I was dying to see what happens when somebody rings the bell. And I said to her, why didn't you ring the bell? Now I'm a knocker. And I'm going, you may well be a knocker, but I really, want to find out what happens when the doorbell goes. Yes, Kimmy's saying that she'd like to have a turtle gym as well. I want to tell you why I like my turtle gym. It has no electric components to it. I bought it probably 20 years ago, and when I use it, I definitely feel better because it uses so many muscles. I've got to say that it really does use, it uses so many muscles without a lot of effort. And one of the problems that I noticed is that the business is not standing up straight. And that's why you'll see me quite often just stand here with my arms behind my back. Because in order to stand with your arms behind your back, you have to have better balance. And what you will find is I'm almost, swaying to just keep balance when I do that. No, the one with the rubber bands is something different, Kimmy. The turtle gym is like, oh, wait a minute, yes. But it has the bands that you do this with. I've done videos on it, but I will show you. But it was the one that Chuck Norris used to promote. If I don't know, and Christy Brinkley. I want to tell you, to me, it was, I think I paid about $800 for mine at the time. And I want to tell you something. If you can pick up a secondhand one, get one. That's what I would do. I would, keep looking for a secondhand one because so many people buy exercise machines and then use them to hang clothes on. It's a very expensive clothes hanger, but it's what most people, they say that 95% of the people who have exercise machines don't use them. So if you're looking to buy an exercise machine, definitely just start searching your local buy and sell ads and get one. Again, I have to tell you that I've never thrown mine away. I don't use it all the time. I will go a year without using it. But, whenever I start to feel wrong, I'll go, I need to get the turtle gym out again and start using it again. And the other thing is here that we've got spring and summer coming. And my big fear was, what am I going to do in the winter? Well, yeah, I came here at the worst time, and I know it's going to be fine. How about this quote? Don't brood. Get on with living and loving. You don't have forever. You see, it doesn't matter whether you fall in love with a guy, a girl, with your neighbor. When I say fall in love with your neighbor, but show love to people, because it's like a boomerang. If people feel loved, what are they going to do back? They're going to, I think the greatest advice I ever got from a chiropractor once was, I was bitching and moaning about something. And he said, something, Sal, one day you're going to wake up and learn a lesson. And I said, what's that? I knew I wasn't going to like it. And he said, whatever it is you want to receive from life, give it. Don't sit there complaining you don't have it. Give it. If you say, well, I don't like going to parties because I'm a wallflower, go to parties and find a wallflower and make them feel valuable. They will never forget you for that, right? And so it's like, turn the mirror around and do the opposite. And to me, that's a really important lesson that, every now and then you get a little nugget from somebody. And I go, I'd love to find that person and thank them, because so many times I've been sitting, feeling the victim. And I'm going, wait a minute. What did I learn? Whatever it is I want from life, give it, and it will come back. Maya Angelou, who we all adored, said, love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles. It leaps fences. It penetrates walls to arrive at its destination full of hope. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so Kimmy's asking, Sal, how many miles are you away from the other house, the one you sold? And are you in a new city or town? Yes, I am in a new city by about this much. I was quite surprised. I realized I must be actually on the border. And I will try and find out how close to that borderline I am. And the reason is because the sign for the new city is just about where I am. Anyway, and it's about 15, 16 minutes away, except yesterday or the day before yesterday, when there was a traffic pile up for some reason. So it's pretty close, but it feels like a different place. And by the way, for those of you who haven't asked, I do not have a light on in the kitchen. I do not have a light on. The only light I have on it is the Diva light. And it is winter. That's what I love about this place. George Sand said, there is only one happiness in this life: to love and be loved. So do you love your house? Right? And I cannot tell you how many times I have in my life walked through my house and literally, I know it sounds really weird, I will touch the wall unit that I got from IKEA 30 years ago. Now, why have I never thrown it out? It works. It works for me. You know what I mean? It's less is more, and it works. And, I look at it and I say, thank you for lasting so long. I've repainted it a couple of times, and it's gone with the movers and not broken, unlike my beautiful coffee table. But it just is amazing. So I walk through my house, I'll touch my dining room chairs and give thanks. All right, so Jilly's saying, yes, I love my bungalow, which is basically what I'm into, Jilly, as you know. A single level in England is called a bungalow. But I didn't love the house I lived in for 34 years, really. Yeah. Jody's saying, that is amazing, the light. I keep thinking of you saying that you really wanted a place with a lot of light. You put that into the universe and it manifested. Yes, I put a number of things into the universe. I wanted a place with light. I didn't want a lawn. Um, and the only thing I didn't, hi there, Tanika, the one thing I didn't get was I wanted it to be north facing and I'm south facing. Now, the difference is, I believe that I'm going to like that. And the reason I think I'm going to like it is because in the summer, I don't know, I'll find out. But you know, I'm a great believer there's a reason why I'm facing the way I am, and I don't know what it is. So, but I did. A lot of the things I said I wanted an updated kitchen. Well, guess what? I got one. Do you know the funny thing is, I remember going to a friend's house and saying, you know, I really love these, you know, what I call the glossy white. Do you know what I mean by the glossy white drawers? um, it's like a melamine, but it's like a gloss one. And there's self-closing doors that don't close very well. By the way, I've got one of them that's really difficult to even open. But you know, you've got to sort of pull them a bit to open them, and then they close themselves without banging. I love that. Hi, Trina. Good to see you. And how are things in Ireland? So there were a lot of things, Jody, that along the way that I said I wanted and I ended up getting, which was quite surprising. And if you think about it, I also gained a son. And you know, tomorrow the previous owners' brothers are coming to fix a whole lot of things. Apparently, you know, and I wrote to thank them that they were so kind to do that, and they said, "Oh, it's always a pleasure to see you." Right? Yes, and that, you know, that's the whole thing, Kim. Kim, is it feng shui that I'm facing the way that I am? Maybe in some way it's good for my mental health or whatever to change the aspect. What I have noticed is I am sleeping a very different sleep here, even with all the stress that's been going on. Mind you, I think it's because I'm so dog tired. You know, I sort of hit that pillow and just go boom. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Wow. Now that's a pretty good one, isn't it? You see, what barriers are we putting up to not be loved? And I do that pretty well. You know, I know some of you are probably rolling your eyes and saying, that's ridiculous. I assure you that I don't think that the lawyer that I met necessarily loves me. Why? I was pretty picky on stuff. But you know, it was the most important document I will probably sign in my lifetime. I had the right to be pretty picky about it. I'm pretty sure that the mover, who probably loved me when he thought I was a little gray-haired lady that he could sweet talk, probably doesn't think I'm quite so nice, doesn't love me quite as much now that I am in conflict. But you know, I am who I am, right? Yeah, and Jody's saying that was such a cute story that I was telling on the vlog, you know, that I've got this one, you know, Hallmark Channel movie. I keep having to go back to the same place to start it, because as soon as I turn it on, I probably get about 15 frames in, and then and the next night I'm going, okay, let me find this again. All right. Oh, it's cold and wet there. Boy, I want to tell you, we've had some pretty cold and wet here too. Um, so, but I've always found that when it's cold and wet, it's a really good idea to give thanks for being warm and safe. Yeah. Yes, exactly, Julie. And that's one of the things that Julie is saying, but getting what you want, right? The lawyer is looking after their stuff. I have the right to look after mine. And just because the person is a lawyer doesn't mean that they have it all right. I assure you, I found mistakes in my contract. And that doesn't make them a bad lawyer, because who am I to judge? Do you ever make mistakes? Yep, I do too. Yep. So the important thing is, that's the point I wanted to make to you all, which is, just because it's a lawyer, make sure you still read it. Makes sense? Wow, interesting. Trina's saying that she has a lot going on. And the past November, uh, her hemoglobins went way low. Wow. All right. So for those of you who don't know what hemoglobin is, that's a red blood. Correct me where I'm wrong here, Trina. But yeah, that's your red blood corpuscles, going through your body. And so you were anemic. Is that right, Trina? So when you don't have that working properly, it means you're not getting enough iron in your body. Normally, they will make you or suggest that you eat more leafy greens and all sorts of things. It can be that you have something depleting the iron, and something's going on in your body where it's munching up the iron and not letting it get in, be used by the body. So that's a really I know what it's like. You end up very, very tired. You don't have any energy. I've had it happen as well. And by the way, if you look at your eyes, they end up looking yellow instead of. Um, wow, really, Trina? Trina's saying that she had an operation, and two big fibroids were removed. Wow. And fibroids are like, how do I describe fibroids to people? They're like octopi, like an octopus. It has many tentacles to it, and they sort of attach to different parts of your body. I had them removed as well, Trina. I had a problem with fibroids as well, so I totally understand what that feels like, and how, and it can be pretty painful as well, depending on where they are. So we're all delighted to hear you're okay. And thank you. Lao Tzu said, love is of all passions the strongest, for it attacks simultaneously the head, the heart, and the senses. How many of you agree with that, right? When you are in love, you can feel it in your head. You're a nicer person in some ways, right? You can feel it in your heart. Every time you hear their voice, who was it who said that? Their heart flutters, right? And then in their senses, just how many of you have been in love and then you've walked down the street and you can actually smell that eau de cologne or whatever it was, and immediately you're back in love with somebody from years ago. All right. Yeah, Trina's saying she was very tired for weeks, but back to normal again. I'm delighted to hear that. Yeah. All right, Sharon's off to run errands. Catch you later, and all the best with Jerry meeting your stepdaughter. Let us know how it goes, because we're nosy. So, Julia Roberts said, it's love when all you want is that person to be happy, even if you're not part of their happiness. How about that? Even if you are not part of their happiness. One of the things that I always say to people now, because I learned it the hard way, if you truly love somebody and they end up not loving you anymore, the answer is not to think revenge. I'll teach you to hurt me like that. The answer is, if I love them, I would want them to be happy. So true love is being able to let go, however much it hurts. True love is to wish them happiness, even if it's without you. Kimmy is now updating us about her husband who had a stroke. Thank you, Kimmy. I appreciate that. She's saying her husband is getting stronger every day. We are so pleased to hear that. It's interesting. Trina saying, I love you. What do you love about it, Trina? What is it about the new place that you love? Just, I'm always interested what people see. The boxes? No, not so much. By the way, Trina, I know that you will relate to that. Right here, you can't see it, thank God. I've got 2 boxes of crud. And the thing is, they're the 2 boxes of crud left over from the things that I happily put away. And I keep adding to these 2 boxes of crud, but I've got to the stage where I don't want to start a 3rd box. I need to get rid of the crud. So today I'm going to take, half a box out, not a whole box, because, I know it's half of it's going to be a challenge for me, and just sort through it. I do have one drawer that I'm allowing to be the crud drawer. The kitchen crud. It's got the birthday candles, and I don't think birthday candles are crud. It's just that, where else do you put them? It's got things like, oh, who knows, silly little things, all right, that I don't necessarily want to use every day. I wanted to get on to some of the negative ones, if that's okay with you guys, because, of this question that that Nyasha asked about, how do you know when you're dating somebody and they're not a good person? So do any of you have any input about that? Have you ever dated somebody and got a warning sign and you went, oh, that definitely is not somebody I need to be dating? Have any of you ever done that or have memories of that? And if so, let us know. So here is the first one. If somebody says something like, you're so smart, sensitive, caring, and loving, not like that bitch I used to go out with, red flag. And why is it a red flag? Let's see what your response is to that. Why would that be a red flag? Hi there, food. Welcome. Wow, Jody's saying if your dog doesn't like the person, it's a red flag. Yeah, but you know something? I think you need to be careful of that, Jody, because a lot of small dogs are very territorial. And they will protect their owners against almost anything. And therefore, it might not be about the person at all. It's just that they are so territorial because they're not treated like a dog. They're treated like a baby. And therefore, they become, so protective that they don't let anybody in. Right. So Trina's saying, I wouldn't let anybody talk to me like that. And yes, and that's why it's healthy. Oh, if they love bomb you, that's a red flag. What's a love bomb? Forgive me for not knowing. Here's another one that I found. Why couldn't I have met you before I met that self-centered, greedy woman I used to date? Yeah, red flag. um, all right, so Jodie's saying Taylor, that's her little ball of white fluff, says Taylor loves almost everybody, but there are two people in our street that he growls at when we go near. Runs in the opposite direction of the sidewalk. Isn't that interesting, right? There you go. Kimmy's saying, we're going to stay here in Utah until they say we can go back to where we live. But the clinic and hospital where we live do not have good care, and we are concerned. You know, Kimmy, I understand, but they will probably be aware, you know, they probably won't let him home until they're pretty sure that he's going to be okay. So, you know, don't let that fear overwhelm you. And, you know, and sometimes you'll find that the care that you didn't think was very good actually is. So, you know, just try not to prejudge that too much. Oh, interesting. Okay, so love bombs and food saying to me, okay, basically that you are bombed with infatuating comments and actions, right? Yeah, but let me ask you something, food. Isn't it normal that when people are trying to impress you at the beginning that they do that? Oh, they do, when they do not take things slowly, or it's going too fast. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Jilly's saying, I don't stand for anything negative in my life if possible. Life is too short to pass on misery. Interesting. All right. So to me, you know, I want to tell you that I think most of us try a little too hard when we first get into a relationship. And that's why it feels so good. Right? It's, you know, that's why you need that toning down period. You know, you need to find out what are they like when they're not trying this hard. And that can be pretty dangerous. By the way, if you hear somebody who always resents things, um, you know, that's a pretty good warning sign, I think. How about entitlement? Nice, you know. Um, Entitlement's interesting. You know, if they say, well, with all that I have to put up with the office, you know, at the office, taking a few office supplies, you know, is what I deserve. And that's entitlement. And, you know, that's also stealing. Yeah, exactly. You know, food's bringing up a very good point, and I thank you for that. Food saying, I think that the red flags sometimes aren't shown until a few years down the line. I want to tell you, food, thank you for mentioning that, because my last husband was charming, thoughtful, communicative, funny, balanced, and all sorts of things until the day I married him. And I don't know what light switch changed, but I was horrified. After that, he never had time to talk to me. He became very judgmental. He was downright rude and abusive in terms of things. And I used to sit there and go, what happened? And it's part of the reason I still have this wool unit. Thank you, Tanika. It's the reason why I still have this wall unit, because I bought it because he wouldn't allow me to put my things out on display. Yeah, that was a big red flag, but it didn't come until after I was married. You know, it was like my taste wasn't good enough for him. I guess some people are relating to this. And I got so angry about that that I went and bought the wall unit. Now, of course, the fact I bought it from IKEA made him want to vomit, but never mind. I bought the wall unit and I went, that's my wall unit. I'll put on it whatever I like. And, you know, but then I knew my marriage was over because, you know, but I had the right to have my things out. I had my memories from England and I had the right to put them in a house. The fact they didn't necessarily fit in with his idea of interior decorating wasn't my issue. My issue was it is my right to be able to have things out in my home. But if this is your home, thanks, Anna Marie. If this is your home, then, you know, that is different. How long was I married? I think about a year. So do you understand? Part of the reason I touch the wall unit and say thank you is because it was a major telling point. And for some of you, perhaps it was the Christmas tree. You know, you grew up in in a household where you covered the Christmas tree with tinsel, which I did, you know, so it was a shimmering mass of silver. And I married a man who thought that a couple of red apples on a Christmas tree was the way it should go. You know what I did? I said, why don't you do your half and I'll do mine? Okay, so food saying sometimes a red flag can be that they are religious, but they don't know how to be spirit led. Yes, there's an awful lot of difference between going to church and being a Christian. So that is, you know, that is very true. All right, so tell me about Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 10:13, because I don't know the Bible the way that you do. I probably know the quote, but I just don't know it offhand. How about when they say things like, I'm the man, so you cook dinner? You know, that would be a pretty big red flag for most of us today. And how about if they believe themselves to be superior? Now, I want to tell you that when I read some of the examples of this, I couldn't help but think about somebody sitting in the White House right now, and I don't mind telling you that. How about this? And I want to quote Psychology Today, said that superiority is the implication, at least through body language or tone of voice, that someone is better than somebody else. Potential abusers tend to have hierarchical self-esteem. For example, they need to feel better than somebody else to feel okay about themselves. They need to point out the ways in which they are smarter, more sensitive, more talented than others. This too can be seductive in dating, as he will point out the ways in which you are superior as well. The most abusive form of hierarchical self-esteem is predatory self-esteem. To feel good about themselves, persons with predatory self-esteem need to make other people feel bad about themselves. They will test high in self-esteem when they come out for court-ordered treatment, while everybody else in their family tests low. But once intervention increases the self-esteem of the emotionally beaten down spouse and children, whom they no longer internalize the put-downs, the predator's self-esteem invariably declines. A variation on this very early warning sign of self-righteousness If you dare to disagree with them, you will not only be wrong, but immoral. Now, we've been seeing this play out in the White House, all right? People are getting punished for trying to protect their country. You know, I don't know about the rest of you, but that makes me pretty angry. This is like you were subpoenaed to appear in court and tell under oath the truth. And when you do, you're now getting punished for it. I think that's very sad. And so, you know, to me, this is like this big red flag, superiority. I am better than you. Have any of you married somebody that constantly made you feel like you were stupid? It's a big red flag. All right, so let me just read what Kimmy's saying here. My first was very abusive, controlling, and would not let me around my friends and family or go anywhere. Yeah, I want to tell you, anybody that tries to control your access to your family and friends, I leave quickly. Really leave quickly, because that's the beginning of a very bad relationship. Oh, that's nice. Food's going to get us that scripture so that we can know. It's 1 Corinthians 13. Okay, could you let me know what it says? Yeah, superiority. You know, narcissism is a whole collection of stuff. You know, I actually went to a therapist once, Julie, because somebody said I was a narcissist. And you know me, I wouldn't know, am I? You know, I'm happy to own it if I am. But I actually went to a therapist and I said, could you do me a favor? And I knew the therapist very well. And he said, sure. So what's that? I said, could you let me know whether I am an, a narcissist? And he burst out laughing. I'm not joking. He literally burst out laughing. And he said, let me see, you're talking about this person that donates so much time to help people in the cancer clinic, right? And the same person that donates so much time to help young people. And you know, he kept coming up with these little things about me. And he went, and you want me to let you know if you're a narcissist? He said, the answer is no, but let me go get the book. And he got the book and he read me the questions and I answered them as honestly as I could. And at the end of it, he said, Sal, how do you feel you did on that? And I said, well, I did say yes to a couple of them. And he said, Sal, you would have to say yes to all of them to be a narcissist, not one or two. We all say yes to one or two. No, you're not a narcissist, and whoever called you one is probably one, right? It's that transference thing. All right, now let me see here. Oh, thank you so much, Food. I appreciate it. Here we go. Love doth not behave itself unseemingly. Oh, yes, that's the quote, right? Seeketh not her own. It is easily provoked. Thinketh no evil. It rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in truth. Beareth all things, believeth all things. Yeah, that is awesome. You know, it's like in The Prophet. I love Gilbrain in The Prophet, where he said what love is two people standing individually and not leaning on one another. You know, but they lean, but not for, you know, it's like they equally lean when they need support. But you know, most of the time they are um, I can't remember the exact quote, but if any of you ever read The Prophet, you know, there are some incredible statements made, and Gilbrain made some incredible statements in there. I always liked his quote about children: you do not own them. You have been given them to give them wings. Once they have wings, let them fly. Right? All right, so let me go back because I've missed one. Jilly's going, you're not a narcissist, nor are you a hoarder. That one really triggered you, didn't it, Jilly? You didn't like the fact I was called a hoarder. All right, so Jody's saying, I was in a controlling relationship where he screened my calls and decided who I could and could not return a call to, then refused to take me to the ER during an asthma attack. That for me was bye. That was it for me. Bye. Yes, absolutely. Big. You probably saved your life that way. I want to tell you something, Food. You did a great job, and I am very, very grateful. And of course, when I started to read it, I understood. I was, oh, that one. Okay, got it. Okay. Okay, you do that. No problem. Send it to DearMamaSal@gmail.com. Thanks, Food. I am sorry for any of us that went through a controlling thing, but let me ask you something. In retrospect, did it serve you well? In other words, when you look back on it now, can you say, in a way, I'm glad that I experienced it because I'll never put up with that again? And so to me, it's like I got so strong on that. I got so strong on what I wouldn't put up with. Yeah, it's like, no, I'm sorry. I don't tolerate that. Nice try, don't try it again. And if they did, guess what? That's enough of that relationship. How about pettiness? When I like my food to be da 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 da, and this mustn't touch that, and da da da, and all this sort of stuff. So to me, how many of you realize that if they are that petty about things, that's going to show up in a relationship in other ways? Now, are any of you OCD, or are any of you married to anybody who is OCD? And that's obsessive compulsive disorder, where things have to be exactly so. Now, that is a disorder. And if somebody owns it and says, I just need to let you know I am OCD, then it is possible to have a great relationship with that person. All right. Because Yvonne, when I met Yvonne, she was very heavily OCD. I mean, if I moved something, she would move it back a half an inch. Yeah, Kimmy. So Food saying, yep, she relates to being OCD. Kimmy was as well. Do you know why we do that? My belief, anyway. I believe we get OCD when it's the only thing we can control. Where for some reason we have been controlled by something else, and now the only thing we can control is how many times we wash our hands, exactly where we place things. It's like it's what keeps us sane. And yet the funny thing is, to other people, it looks insane. All right, so Jody's saying, I have OCD. Lana has learned to live with it, and he tries to do everything he can not to trigger it excessively. Yes, and that's why I say Yvonne did as well. And by the way, what I always say to people, the greatest gift I have is that Yvonne is OCD. So when I need something in a hurry, she knows exactly where it is. Yeah, and Kimmy, that's what happened to Yvonne as well. That's interesting you should say that. Kimmy's saying, for years I had it, and I calmed down. I've calmed down a lot. Yvonne got a lot of help with it, and it was amazing because when she got the help, she calmed down, exactly those words, right? That she wasn't as frenetic all the time and needing to be perfect about everything and so forth. She didn't need to control everything the same way that she did. about somebody who's really petty? By petty, let's look at it. It's somebody that, keeps picking on one little small thing. And you did 101 things right, but, this one little thing. And, if I find somebody like that in my life, I just go, and they go, what's that? I go, get over it. Because if every time I do one thing wrong, you're going to pick on it. And, I can't be near somebody like that. I'm going to make mistakes all the time. I'm a human being. So do me a favor, get over it or move on. How many of you agree with me? All right. And so, Jody, I really would challenge you this year to look at where your OCD-ness, is and why. I think it's interesting. Where is it? Is it everything or certain things, and why? And, I know you well enough, Jody, that you'll start looking at that and seeing, what Yvonne and I worked on was how could she just let it go a little bit, and then the next year let it go a little bit more, right? Because we all have good reasons for doing what we do. So Jody, I want you to start asking yourself, I've got a really good reason for wanting the kitchen in this order. Why? All right? I've got a really good reason for wanting Let me find out why. Start taking notes. I know you do really good work on yourself, Jody. Here you go. You see, I love you to bits, Jody, because you can process so quickly now. Jody's saying certain things, and I think it became very pronounced when I spiraled out of control medically. Does it make sense to you, Jody, because you couldn't control your medical issues, but you could control the physical things around you? Does it make any sense that would balance it out? All right, and Kimmy's saying she does it because the things are in order and clean. All right. And Jody is quickly correcting herself because she heard my voice tone on that one. I think it became very pronounced. You're right. She's saying I know and not think. Yeah. You see, and that's why I put the stress on it, Jody, because I know that you know it. You don't think it. You know that that's what happened. And so there was a good reason why you became OCD. And here's Jody is saying, I couldn't control my physical symptoms. And the only thing, or it's the only thing I had to say in. Yeah. So if you can see that, Jody, you can correct it now because you know better now. Okay. Jilly's saying, I'm OCD in the kitchen, but only because I designed it for a left-handed person. Yay. So tell us about that, Jilly. What things need to be different in a left-handed kitchen? That is really interesting to me. I never ever thought about that. Anybody else left-handed? I'd be really interested. I'd love to know more about this. What needs to change in a left-handed kitchen? I love doing this. One of the things I love about doing Dear Mama Sal is I learn things every week. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Type, Jilly. I want to know. And if any of you have, I think the joy that I got in redoing my kitchen was that I literally tried to rethink where I had things before and where they didn't work. Okay, let me just read what Jilly's saying. I'm OCD in the kitchen. The sink and drainer, so I don't have to cross my hands when washing up is, yeah. That makes sense. All right. Right. So you wash things up in the sink, and most people would put it to the left. You put it to the right. Do you drain on the right or the left, Julie? I want to know whether I'm just weird. Oh, that's interesting. Jody's saying she's left-handed too, but luckily so is Lionel. That really helps. Yeah, okay, so that makes sense to me. Okay, anything else, Julie? So now, wait a minute, but Julie, that now means that your husband is the one that has to do it the wrong way around. But it's your kitchen, you designed it, you get it your way. I understand that. Okay, yeah, I'm saying that, I'm right-handed. I use this sink most. Oh, there's Anne the Walker. She's had a haircut. Anyway, I use this sink most, and I actually drain into that sink. Very interesting stuff. Jilly saying her husband never washes up. It's not an issue. The reason I wash up in that sink is that's habit. That's interesting. That is habit, because that's where the garbage disposal was in my other one. I don't have the garbage disposal here. Okay. Now then, how many of you see sarcasm as an early warning signal? Now, I'd be really bad on that one because I can be really sarcastic. So Psychology Today said sarcasm comes in many forms. Sometimes it's just poorly timed humor. I'm stopped because I really realized my family was taught sarcasm. Yeah, my mom was really good on sarcasm, and she used sarcasm to belittle people and show how stupid they were because they didn't know what she knew. And when my brother was out here recently, he was relating a story about where he had been really sarcastic about somebody. And he said, he took offense at it and said I was being rude. And I said, you were. And he said, oh, you've lost your sense of humor. I said, no, I haven't lost my sense of humor. I now know how damaging sarcasm can be, but it's never the person who's being sarcastic that can see it. It's the person receiving it that feels it. And I know that now. I understand it better. But my brother also is superior, and therefore, it's there are a lot of issues there. How about deceit? Do you see deceit as a warning sign? And some of us, I got to admit, when I used to be dating, when I first started dating, I would tell lies. And I can't believe that I did it, but I did. I would pretend I was a better person than I really am. And no wonder I had problems in my relationships, was because, it wasn't based on truth. Now, it wasn't that I told big lies, but, it would be like, oh, shall we go and have curry? And I go, okay. When, I didn't enjoy curry. Or shall we go skydiving? Okay. When I was petrified, I didn't ever go skydiving, by the way. But you know what I mean? Those sort of little lies. And, I don't know, my self-esteem was not strong enough to believe they would still like me if I said no. And I realize that now, that it had to do with my self-esteem. One of the interesting things I found when I went to lunch at Christmas day with Dougie, my son Dougie. You know, he served this incredible meal to me that had no garlic. He served an incredible meal to somebody else who was vegetarian. He served an incredible meal. You know, it was just like amazing, the food that was put on the table. And I said to him, you know, Doug, I cannot thank you enough for all that you did to you know, what incredible gifts you gave everybody to give them all a Christmas lunch they could enjoy. And he looked at me sort of really weirdly and he said, but you taught me that. And I said, I did. And he said, yeah. You know, when anybody comes to your home, or before they even come, you always ask, do you have any allergies, anything, you know, that you don't enjoy? You know, I don't want to be cooking you shrimps if you can't, you know, don't like seafood. You know, anything I need to know so that I can make a meal you will enjoy. And, you know, I recommend you to keep notes so you never have to ask a second time. Just the second time they come, you know, you can just wow them with, well, you know, Jane, I know that you hate beetroot, so I didn't put any beetroot in here. You know, or I know spinach is not high on your list, so there's no spinach in there. And, you know, and it's to watch people's reaction when you care that much is amazing. And, you know, the funny thing was, I was the one that was shocked, and apparently I was the one that taught him. Go figure that one. Some of you are probably just shaking your heads going, really? How about jealousy? Jealousy comes from what? So let's see how we do on this. And you know, and this is an important one. The little green monster is a very important one in relationships. Have any of you been in a relationship where the other person was jealous? Yeah, cheating husbands. You know, that will. They normally go together, don't they, Kimmy? That if they're jealous, they also are likely to be cheaters. Did you hear my stomach rumble? Apparently, I'm hungry. So yeah, I found that the two go together pretty well. And you know, anybody that's trying to control who you see, you understand that's a form of control, but it also sometimes is a form of jealousy. I don't want you going out with your male friends. You know, you've heard that one happen. Why? Because they're jealous. But the truth is this, you know, that if you were going to cheat, you wouldn't be doing. Hi there, Beth. You wouldn't be doing it that obviously. And you know, anybody that tries to control that, you're on a break at work. We're always delighted to see you, Beth. And Beth, you know, really, I was just saying earlier, our thoughts and prayers for Victoria. I presume it's Victoria, right? That got hurt. And I wondered how that happened, Beth. And does she get, you know, a lawsuit on this one because of this damage? I don't know why. I immediately thought, I hope she's got a good lawyer. Because if that disfigured her face in any way, then she needs a good lawyer. Unless she did something against the rules or against the protocol or whatever. You know, should have been wearing a safety mask and wasn't, or stuff like that. But if for any other reason, I would think she probably needs a good lawyer. The machine malfunctioned. Okay. Wow, how scary. Ugh. You know, I give, you know, I am glad she's alive. You know, I have to keep saying to myself, I'm just so glad she is alive and that she wasn't blinded. Wow. And she had to get into an emergency shower. Wow. Well, as I said, Beth, my heart and that of all of us here, our heart and prayers go out to her. And, I hope that she gets the plastic surgery. That's going to be really painful stuff for her. And it's going to be, part of me goes, Beth, that maybe in here there's learning for her. She's going to come out of this with a new set of something, new skills on how to realize that what happened to her it does not define who she is. Yes, workman's comp has to pay. Yeah, you bet they do. Um, and I definitely would have her see a lawyer. All right, so Kimmy's saying, and Kimmy, I understand that. What if the man that you love or whatever, whether you're dating or husband, is around females a lot and appear to be a little too friendly? How many of you get jealous? Beth saying, so she's as strong as nails, just like her mommy. Well, I understand that, but she's still human. Good night, Trina. All the best, honey. And look after yourself. Stay warm, and eventually the rain will stop. So, what a sad thing to happen. I think the other red flag that I would have in a relationship is somebody that's a victim, right? They're always blaming everybody else for all the reasons, if they talk about, we heard about that earlier, if they are talking about, well, she was this, that, and the other, and da 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 da, and then I tried to love her, but she didn't get it right. And it's like when you listen to somebody that's a victim, you can put up a red flag. If somebody says to you, something, she didn't do X, Y, and Z, but when I think about it, neither did I. That's a lot safer. Beth is saying, I felt the boxes today. Yeah, something, each time I see my boxes, I think of you, Beth. And each time I pull out my carving knife, I go, Beth, this is a good box cutter. All right, so she got 1,200 boxes today. Wow. And you clear them in a day. I mean, I don't know how you do it, really. Jilly, thank you so much for being here. So Jilly is saying, I've had a lovely time chatting and thanks for making me so welcome. It's what we do. It's nearly bedtime here. Much love. Come back anytime, Jilly. We are a group of people learning by helping one another. That's what we do. We're like an extended family. We keep having, topics that hopefully we all learn. Did you learn anything today, Jilly? That is the question. Did you anywhere along the line go, oh, that's a good point. I might have a look at that. And if you did, then we are delighted. And by the way, later we will do the fun one, where we will be laughing a bit about that because Jody found some great quotes. And so, what I wanted us all to see. Yeah, you learn lots. Yeah, we all do, Jilly. But the nice thing is, we try to present it in a way where it does. And that's really, we're all trying to improve, right? Because none of us is perfect. And that's what we do every week is we just try and learn a little bit more. And I keep, trying to come up with subjects where it was so easy to do the fun part about love. But I thought, I'd like to do half of it about the downside of love because I think it's important, and especially as one of our viewers actually asked me to talk about. So Jody's going, countdown reminder. This is where I turn my head sideways, Jody, because you know this doesn't automatically do the sideways thing. Hang on a second, but I will do the countdown for you. There we go. And for those of you who don't know about the countdown, we do this. Actually, Jody, will you remind me to put Christmas back in? Here we go. For those of you in the States, or anywhere in the world that celebrates American Thanksgiving, you've got 9 months and 16 days. We Canadians have less time because we have our Thanksgiving before the Americans. We've only got 8 months. Okay. For all the Christians, we have 1 month and 27 days until Easter. I know this is almost impossible to believe, but we've only got 34 more days until spring. How many of you going? Mind you, that means that Lauren and everybody in the southern hemisphere, you've only got 34 more days until autumn starts. We will be jumping the clocks forward in 23 days. That means we lose some sleep. So start catching up on extra sleep now, because you're going to lose some. For those of you who practice Lent, all right, 11 days. I want to tell you, I live in Canada and it's cold here too, but actually not too bad. For those of us who who understand about Mercury being in retrograde, means it's going away from us. Yeah, we're just about February the 17th is when it starts, and it goes all the way through into March sometime. Well, we got no days left until Valentine's Day. Well, actually, we got 365 days left until Valentine's Day. I need to take out, I don't know how to take things off my countdown because I already own and I've already moved. So there we go. And I've got some updating to do on this. Well, food, you will learn about me. I don't do winter well at all. It's not my favorite season. I love spring. I love summer. I love autumn. I'm picky. Mind you, I have done winter better this year than normal. I think because I was so busy with moving and doing stuff like that. And then to come into a house where this is winter and I don't have any lights on. I mean, seriously, how could you? Mind you, the sun is out today, to be fair, but as some of you knew, that even with the snow covering the skylight here, it was amazing. Yeah, so Kim is saying she's learned, that she knows that you don't put all the blame on the other person, right? It's a two-way trade. Sometimes we need to look at ourselves, and that's really important. I found it really interesting this week how many of you reacted to the hoarder video. And Food with Me says, okay, maybe you weren't like Iceland. You know something? I am certain I would love Iceland, but I probably wouldn't stay a long time, any more than I would in, any of the Scandinavian countries or northern Scandinavian countries, because it's just like, really? I do like, and why I think I loved Africa, because, it was so light there for so long. I really, I spent 17 years of my 20s and 30s, in that much sunlight. And I really know that it's good for me. It is the reason as well, food, why I supplement my vitamins every day with vitamin D. I do know that, that not getting enough sunlight for me is really dangerous for my mental health. So before I go, I just wanted to say that, hopefully we've all found love in our life. Some of us found it unconditionally in a pet. Some of us found love from our parents, and some of us found love from another human being. And I look at it and go, I found love when I could give it to young people. I found love when I could help people with less knowledge than myself about things. You see, there are all sorts of ways that you can find love. How many of you talk to your plants? You know, I've got little seeds starting. Where did I put them? And you know, I found love talking to Clarence, but you know, here we've got a few tomato seeds that I just started. And here, a few chives. And here, some butter lettuce. So you're going, but that's not love, so. Well, what do you think? Does growing a plant require love? And by the way, for those of you who need the update on Orajana, I check her every day to see. I think I killed an orange tree, but I'm waiting for spring to find out. You know, because I go and talk to her every day and say, you know, I really do need you to start growing some leaves here so I'm going to feel better. How selfish is that? Because I don't want to hear that I killed her by accident because I thought she was fake. And yet on the other side, and you will see this in the videos, on the other side, I have actually got a hibiscus that I took because somebody had killed it. And I said, give it to me. I might be able to get it to live again. And I did. All right. So she, Tanika's also saying that she also doesn't do winter well, but she's finding beauty in every season. You see, that's when you've got your life under control. It's when you can see the beauty everywhere, good and bad, right? When it snows a lot, it gets so bright at night, you don't need lights. Yes, that's also true, isn't it? So, what I want you all to remember is coming here and helping one another is an act of love. And I want to thank you all for that. I want to thank you all for the incredible act of love that you showed in supporting me in this horrific transition that I went through. And for being there and telling your truth. It was just amazing. You know, I would come back exhausted and find these comments and be so grateful that somebody out there cared that I was struggling or that I was emotionally spent. And it made it easier. And I thank you for that. I from the bottom of my heart, I really do thank you for that. You probably didn't realize how important your contribution, your comments have been and will continue to be in my life. All right. Because if I thought that what I did wasn't in any way helping anybody, why would I do it? I've always said if what I do helps one person, it's worth doing it again, you know, another one. So big hugs to you all. Thank you for all the love that you show me. I'm doing this because, you know, I broke 2 nails. But isn't it amazing? How about that? The love is that I managed to hold on to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sort of, 7 out of 10 nails. That's pretty good. I love that. When you've been through the moving and cleaning and doing what I've been doing for the last month and putting stuff away, ripping up boxes, I love that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is DearMamaSal saying, live Valentine's Day every day if you can. Think about why do we just do it on Valentine's Day, right? And I thought, Jody, if I make quote you on the rose story, may I do that? because I meant to ask you earlier whether I may quote you on that. Because it was such, to my mind. Yeah. Jody said to me, one of the things that she taught Lionel is, please don't buy me roses on Valentine's Day. Why would you buy roses at 3 times the usual price? Because it's Valentine's Day. Surprise me every now and then with a single rose. That would show so much more love to me. And also, it would show me that you care, not just on Valentine's Day sort of stuff. And I read that and I thought, isn't that the truth? Don't tell me you love me, show me. And don't show me on Valentine's Day, show me every day that I wake up in the morning, that you're glad that I woke up. And show me every day that I make you laugh, because that will make me laugh, right? And, in the nice way, not laugh at me, but laugh with me. And so I think if you're lucky enough to have found the love that, for example, Jody has, and obviously Jilly has, then be very grateful. And if you haven't found it for you, give it to somebody else. And that would be my greatest gift to you all, which is, love isn't something that you just receive, it's something you give. So go make somebody else feel loved. Male, female, go adopt a puppy, just give love and you will be a happier person. This is DearMamaSal saying, thank you for being here and bye-bye for now. Well, nearly bye-bye for now, because I have to sort of work out how to do that again. Bye.